Hi everyone, it's Sarah and welcome to my crochet channel. Today's video I'm going to show you how to crochet this Cross Your Heart cowl. It's a nice cowl for spring, summer, or fall, or even winter for that matter, just to add a little extra touch to any outfit. Now this one is made with Caron Pantone yarn. And that's that yarn that comes with the 5 different colors that you have to put together. While you don't have to use this type of yarn for this project, you can use any medium weight number 4 yarn, acrylic, blend, whatever you want to, as long as it's a medium number 4 yarn. And we'll talk more about that a little farther on in the video. Now this cowl measures about 6 inches across, and it's about 30 inches long. And a cowl is a scarf that is in a circle like an infinity scarf, only it's a little bit shorter. Most of your cowls measure about 24 to 36 inches, so they're not as long as an average scarf or infinity scarf. They're just meant to hang around your neck and hit about where your heart sits. And so that's why I called it the Cross Your Heart, because we're making cross stitches and it lays about where the heart hits on your body. Thought it would make a fun name. Now, you can adjust this pattern to make it wider or longer if you want to, and I'll also tell you how to do that when we get farther on in the video. And you can find this free crochet pattern on my blog. And as always, I'll put that blog link down in the notes underneath this video. To make our Cross Your Heart cowl, you're going to need about 3.5 ounces of any medium weight number 4 yarn. If you have one of these, all you need is one to make our cowl. But you don't have to use the Caron Pantone yarn. It's a wonderful yarn, it's soft, and it's perfect for this pattern. But if you don't have one of these, or you just don't want to use this, you can use any medium weight number 4 yarn. And for today's demonstration, I'm going to be using just this lavender color, kind of an orchid purple, of my Red Heart Super Saver. It's a medium weight number 4 yarn as well. You can also use medium weight number 4 cotton or any of the blends like wool or alpaca that you have on hand. You're just going to need about 3.5 ounces, and it needs to be a medium number 4 yarn. We're going to be stitching today with our eye hook. The eye hook is a 5.5 millimeter crochet hook. You'll need your scissors, and then you'll just need your needle for weaving in those ends. We're going to be stitching our cowl in rows around and then join it together at the end. The width of the scarf is 6 inches. If you want to make your scarf wider, you can do that by adjusting in multiples of 3 chains plus 5 chains. If you want to make your scarf longer, you can adjust that just by adding more rows. We'll be doing alternating rows of single crochets in our cross stitch row. The 2 rows, the single crochet and the cross stitch row, measure approximately 2 inches, and so you can add more inches just by doing the repeat for more rows. We're going to begin with our slip knot, and then we're going to chain 17 chains. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and 17. All right, we're going to begin in the second chain from the hook. There's the first one, here's the second one, and we're going to stitch 1 single crochet in each of the chains across. We go in the chain, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through both loops. And since we began in the second chain from the hook, we're going to have 16 single crochets. And I do suggest that you stitch this first row just a little bit loose. Start with just a little bit looser chain, and then a one row of our single crochets just a little bit loose. I have stitched one single crochet in each of my chains across, starting in the second chain from the hook. So I have 16 single crochets. I'm going to chain 3, 1, 2, and 3, and turn. This is going to be our cross stitch row. Our chain 3 counts is our first double crochet. We're going to double crochet in the next stitch. We're going to skip the next single crochet, and we're going to stitch a double crochet in the next 2. Yarn over, go in, pull up a loop, yarn over, go through the first 2, yarn over, and go through the second 2. That's our double crochet. So I double crocheted in the next 2. Now I'm going to triple, so I'm going to put 2 loops on my hook, and I'm going to cross back to this stitch that I skipped, and we're going to go from the back to the front, yarn over, and pull that loop through. So now I have 4 loops on my hook, yarn over, go through the first 2, yarn over, go through the second 2, yarn over, and go through the third 2. That's our first cross stitch made. We're going to skip the next stitch, double crochet in the next 2, 1 and 2, and then triple in that stitch that we skipped. So we'll go from behind to the front, yarn over and pull that through, yarn over, go through the first 2, yarn over, go through the second 2, yarn over, and go through the third 2. 2 cross stitches made. All right, let's do the next 2. Skip the next, double crochet in the next 2, 1, 2. Now I'm going to triple in that skipped stitch. And it can be a little clumsy till you get used to doing it, but this will give you lots of practice with this cowl because we do lots of them. All right, skip the next, double crochet in the next 2, 1 and 2, triple, so there's our 4 triple stitches in the middle, and then we're going to place a double crochet in these last 2 stitches. And we're going to chain 1. And this is how row 2 should look. You'll have your 2 double crochets at the beginning because our chain 3 counted is our first double crochet. You'll have your 4 cross stitches in the middle and then 2 double crochets at the end. We chained 1 and turn. Now what we're going to do is just place 1 single crochet in each stitch across. When you're working this particular pattern, it can be a little confusing to know where to place those stitches. And so if you look at the top, you can see all your stitches across because it's very important that you stick to 16 stitches on every row. All right, so we're going to go right in our first stitch and stitch a single crochet. And then we'll just go right across, following those stitches at the top. 1 single crochet in each of the stitches across. On the cross stitch row, we still have 16 stitches. We just have a combination of crossing over with that triple, and it can be a little bit confusing to know where to put those stitches. And that's why I say if you just follow that little braid of stitches on the top, it's really not a braid, it's the loops, but it kind of looks like a braid to me, then you should end up with the right amount of stitches because you want to make sure that you have 16 single crochets. And here's my chain 3 that was our first double crochet, and there's my last single crochet, and then I'm going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. All right, let's take a minute and make sure I did the right amount of stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16 stitches plus my chain 3. And that's the way it should look on the front. Now for row 3, we're going to do what we did on row 2. Our chain 3 counts is our first double crochet, and then we're going to double crochet in the next stitch. We're going to skip the next stitch and place a double crochet in the next 2. 1 and 2. Now we're going to triple, so we'll put 2 wraps on our hook, and we'll come back and stitch our triple where we skipped that stitch. And then we'll repeat this 3 more times. Here's our skipped stitch, so we'll double crochet in the next 2. 1 and 2. Triple, come back to this stitch we skipped, and stitch our triple stitch. There we go. So here's where we stitched our last stitch. We're going to skip the next one and double crochet in the next 2. 1 and 2. There's our 2 double crochets. We'll stitch our triple. 1, 2, and 3. Here's where we stitched our last stitch, so we'll skip here and stitch a double crochet in the next 2. 1 and 2. Then we'll stitch our triple. And then 1 double crochet in the last 2 stitches. 1 and 2. And chain 1, because our next row is a single crochet row. So there's our second row of cross stitches. So now for row 5, we're going to do what we did on row 3. We chained 1, we're going to turn, and we're going to place 1 single crochet in each of those stitches across. And again, I'm just following those loops on the top so I can make sure that I put a single crochet in each one of those stitches, and make sure that I have 16 stitches across. 1 single crochet in each of the stitches across. Oops, there we go. All right, here's my last single crochet. I'm going to make sure 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, and 16, and chain 3. And let's see. Here's the back. Here's the front with our cross stitch rows. So now what we're going to do for our cowl is we're going to continue to repeat row 4, which is our cross stitch row, and row 5, which is our single crochet row, for 50 more rows, alternating every other row. Cross stitch, single crochet, alternating up through row 55, or for 50 more rows. If you want your cowl to be longer, you can of course continue to repeat row 4 and 5 until it's the length that you would like. This is how your cowl should look after repeating those single crochet rows and your cross stitch rows, alternating every other row. We repeated it 50 times, so we should have 55 rows. And again, you can add as many rows as you want to if you want your cowl longer. Make sure you end on a single crochet row, because we're going to be putting the two ends together. So we're going to place our two ends together, and I've got my right sides facing out. Here's my cross stitches. Remember, on the back side you don't see the cross stitches, although it is still really pretty. We're going to go in the first stitch here and the first chain where we started, pull up a loop, yarn over, and pull through. We're going to stitch a single crochet, moving across, stitching the ends together. Go across here, go across here. Let's pull this down so you can see a little better. And stitch a single crochet. Now, we want to make sure we don't pull this too tight, because we don't want the end of our cowl to be puckered up. And that's also why I said at the beginning that we wanted to make sure that we stitch that first row of chains and single crochets just a little bit loose so that it doesn't pucker up on us. Alright, so I'm just going to single crochet across, stitching the front to the back with the right sides facing out. So I finished stitching across. I'm going to tie off, and I've already cut my yarn, and then we'll just take our needle and weave that in. Now you'll also have an end on the other side where you began, and we want to make sure that we keep those colors on the right side and it doesn't show through, unless you did it all on the same colors, then it doesn't matter. So I'm going to do a couple loops there, and then I'm just going to go through the fibers of the stitches. And I've cut my yarn just a little bit short, but I think it's going to hold just fine. The key to getting your weave in to stay is to go through the stitches and the fibers of the yarn and to go one way back and forth, and that's going to hold just fine. Now I need to tidy up my other end, and I'll be all finished. So here is my completed cowl. Here's my beautiful cross stitches. I want you to see they're kind of open and lacy and beautiful. And I love how that turned out. Here's my seam. And the thing is, if you want that seam to be on the inside and this to be on the outside, you can do this wrong side out as well. But I don't mind. The seam doesn't bother me. I think it still looks really pretty, and it blends in with what you have going on. And I love this cowl. It's a nice size, and it's actually perfect for a man or a woman. It's not feminine, it's not masculine, it's just really pretty.